Hello, Moira here, and welcome back to our Mosaic Sampler Cal, and this week we're looking at the border pattern 2. You'll find your charts this week that you've actually got two different charts for pattern 2. You've got this one that I'm looking at that actually has pattern 1 and pattern 2 on it, but it is a little bit confusing when you look at them like that. So I have separated out pattern 1 from pattern 2, so you can actually look just at pattern 2. And here we go, pattern 2 by itself. You can see it's a little less complicated to look at. We have rounds 11 to rounds 18, which gives us 8 rounds altogether for pattern 2. And that section there that I'm pointing to is our 12 stitch pattern. And that 12 stitch pattern is what's repeated all the way around the blanket, apart from at the corner section. So pattern 2 is starting on colour A, and we're on round 11. So I need to know how many stitches in from the corner that I'm going to start so that my pattern works. I'm just referring back to pattern 1 and round 10, and I'm counting in on round 10 those stitches from the corner to that red line. That tells me where I'm going to start round 11. Remember, we use that corner chain when we start counting, and I count along to the red line, and it's stitch 14 is where I'm going to start. So my hook's already in stitch 14, and I'm going to pull the yarn through, create one chain stitch to fasten it, and then start on the next stitch with a double crochet. So disregarding the first chain, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to that first drop treble. So we've double crocheted 7 stitches into the back loop. Now we're ready to pick up that front loop stitch with a treble crochet. Remember, we call it our drop treble. There we go, the first drop treble. I'm just checking with my 2 pattern chart that my drop treble is lined up the same on my crochet as it is on the chart. Just checking with my 12 stitch repeat here, how many more stitches I've got to do before I do the next drop treble. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 stitches in all before the next drop treble. So I just repeat that pattern until I come to the corner. I've got 2 stitches to go before I get to that first drop treble just before the corner. So 2 double crochets, there we go, first one, second one, and then I'm doing a drop treble just before the corner stitch. So drop treble into that row A there, then I've got 1 more double crochet, and then it's 2 chain for the corner, another double crochet immediately, and then I'm going to count how many stitches it is before I actually get to that drop treble. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 double crochets before I get to that drop treble. And then that's the start of our pattern again. We just keep on repeating that pattern, that 12 stitch pattern, until we get to the corner again. So here we go back to the beginning practically. 2 double crochets to end before I snip my yarn and pull it through, and then I'm going to join my very last double crochet to my first double crochet with an invisible stitch. Now I've completed round 11, I'm just going to cross it off, and I'm now ready to go and start round 12, which is colour D. Just checking what stitch number we start round 12 on, and it's stitch 15. So just counting how many stitches that I have to do in this round before we do our drop treble, and it's 6 stitches after that starting chain, and then we do our first drop treble, and then we have a double crochet and then another drop treble. It actually sits, both those drop trebles sit around the one from the previous round. So now we're at the end of that pattern. After that drop treble, we need to work out how many stitches it is before the next drop treble again for the pattern. So it's 9 double crochets before we get that drop treble, double crochet, drop treble again, and that's our pattern repeat until we get to the corner. We're just about at the corner. I've just completed a drop treble and a double crochet. This is my final drop treble before the corner, and then I've got 1 double crochet before the corner chains. So there we go, there's our 1 double crochet, 2 corner chains, and then it is 9 more double crochets until we get to that repeating pattern of drop treble, double crochet, drop treble. So here we go, round 12, what it looks like. We'll tick it off, and then we're ready to start round 13, and we're back with colour A. So we're starting colour A in stitch 16. However, we don't always have to count 16 stitches in. I actually am going to start counting from that drop treble that I've actually got, the cream drop treble. So if we start from that drop treble, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches in from the drop treble, and that's where I've inserted my hook. So I've worked 5 double crochets already, and I've come to the first drop treble. So it's a drop treble, then a double, then a drop treble, a double, and then another drop treble. Do remember that last drop treble is actually the first drop treble in your pattern, and you've got 7 stitches after that before you do that drop treble pattern again. At the corner we have the pattern of drop treble, double, drop treble, double, drop treble, double, then your 2 chain. And once we've done our 2 chains, it's 1 double and then a drop treble. After that it is 7 doubles before the first drop treble again, and then we can actually see our pattern repeating again all the way to the corner, and we keep doing that until we come to the final stitches, which we join with an invisible stitch. Our pattern's starting to build up nicely. We've just completed round 13, and round 14 starts on stitch 17, but we do have that little trick we learnt in the last round that we can start from where that drop treble is, and it's always going to be stitch 5 from that drop treble. Immediately after our chain stitch we're doing 1 drop treble, and then it's 1, 2, 3 double crochets and then our drop treble, and then we carry on with our pattern as we normally would all the way around until we come to the corner. Do be careful with this round as it's a slightly trickier pattern than the one before, as there's 5 drop trebles altogether within the pattern. I've just completed my last drop treble before the corner. Now I've done my chain stitches, I'm just going to check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Good, so I'm good to go around the corner and start with the next part of the pattern. And after completing our 2 chain, the next part of the pattern is 1 double crochet, 1 drop treble, 1 double crochet, 1 drop treble, 1 double crochet, 1 drop treble, giving us 3 drop trebles after we come round that corner. Round 14 ticked off, we're halfway through the front border. Now we should be starting on stitch 18. However, this is a slightly trickier one that we're going to look at this time because there's a drop treble immediately we start. So instead of starting on that drop treble, we're actually going to start on the stitch to the left of it. So in theory, we're going to be starting on stitch 19, where that crosses. We're still going to use a little trick starting from the drop treble, but we're going to be starting on stitch 6 this time. After the initial chain, it was 7 double crochets, a drop treble, a double crochet, and now we're back to the beginning of the pattern where there's another drop treble, one more double crochet, and then another drop treble, and then our pattern just repeats again all the way to the corner. I'm at the corner where I've done 3 drop trebles, 1 double crochet, that's the bit that I've just done. Now I'm about to do my 2 chain. The corner in this round is different from the previous rounds in that the stitches after that corner chains are symmetrical with the stitches before it. Round 15 nice and complete, can tick it off. Round 16 is back to colour D. We're on our 19th stitch in from the corner, or stitch 5 in from that drop treble. So we started as normal with our chain stitch, and now we're going to crochet 8 double crochets before our first drop treble. Once we've done that drop treble, it's back to the beginning of the pattern, whereas it's 1 double crochet and 1 other drop treble, and then we keep repeating our pattern until we get to the corner. When you get to the corner, you've got, after the last drop treble you do, there's 3 double crochets before the 2 corner chains. And this corner is the same as the corner in the previous round, it's symmetrical. So again, 3 more double crochets after those corner chains before you do a drop treble. Round 16 is complete, and we now go back to colour A for round 17, and we're on the 20th stitch in from the corner, or if we use our little trick for our drop treble, it's still the 5th stitch in from our drop treble. After that initial chain, it is 9 double crochets before we go back to the beginning of the pattern for that first drop treble, and then after that it's 11 double crochets and then a drop treble, and keep repeating this till we get to the corner. Again, round 17's got symmetry on it. After the last drop treble before the corner, it's 5 double crochets, then our 2 chains, then our 5 double crochets, and then a drop treble. And we can see how clear the pattern's looking now. So only one more round to finish this border pattern, round 18, colour G. And as there's no drop trebles in this round, it doesn't matter where you start. You can choose to start anywhere you like on the border. And there's our second border pattern for the front of our Afghan complete. I'm now turning my attention to the back border. You can see I've already got 5 rows of the back border complete for section 1. Section 2 has 4 rows that we need to add on to the back border, because remember, it's half the amount of rows we did in the front border. Quick recap on the back border: you go through both loops, chain 3 because we're creating a treble stitch and we're using a 4.5mm hook. Then we're going to create a treble through again both front and back loops, and we're going to carry on creating these trebles until we get to the corner. Just remember, when I'm speaking about trebles, it's a UK treble, so it's a US double crochet. And when we get to the corner, we do 2 trebles into the first corner chain, then 2 chain, and then 2 trebles into the second corner chain. Keep working your trebles like this until you get back to the beginning, where you'll join with an invisible stitch. And to join an invisible stitch in a treble is no different than doing it in a double. We do not use the first 3 chains, we use the first treble stitch. So that V of the first treble stitch is where we're going to insert our needle into. And then we, again as we did before, just insert our needle through the centre of the last stitch and then weave in our ends. I've now completed all 4 rounds of the second border, giving me 9 rounds in total for both borders. If you only want to put 2 patterns on your Afghan's border, you now need to slip stitch the edges together. To join the borders together, you pick up the top loops of the front and the top loop of the back, and you count a few stitches in from the corner. I've counted 4 here, and join them with the same colour of yarn you finished your front border with. Create a chain stitch to fix the stitches, and then just keep slip stitching all the way along through the top loops. And when you get back to the beginning, join with an invisible stitch to that first slip stitch. However, I'm pulling mine out as I still have a third border pattern to do, and I will see those of you who wish to do the third border pattern back in the next tutorial.